Hey everyone, Bobby here, aka Madness80, doing another Throwback Madness video on one of my favorite DCUC Collect and Connect figures, KILOWOG. This dude hails back from 2009 in a series consisting of Cyborg, Superman, Deadman, Steppenwolf, Green Lantern, Shark, and The Question, I believe, with variants on Green Lantern, Deadman, and Steppenwolf, I believe. This dude, his shelf presence, man, holds up to this day. Look at him. Just look at him. Dude, this guy's so rad still. I get happy every time I see this figure. That head sculpt, amazing. Not much sculpt or detail, too much detail, sculpted detail that is, on the rest of the figure in differing greens depending on which light you're looking at. But man, his shelf presence holds up. His articulation on this, in this whole series doesn't necessarily translate well into modern action figure engineering. But again, shelf presence. Dude, he is so awesome. So if you're like me, who's more of a big Marvel Legends collector, or just a Marvel fan in general, but still respect and like DC, especially the main heavy hitters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all that stuff, I piece my collection together. So right now, my primary DC, 6-inch, again, I'm a 6-inch collector. Yes, I do get some McFarlane stuff, but I mean, my true 6-inch collection at this point is probably through Mezco. So you just kind of piece together who fits well together. So this DCUC Collect and Connect KILOWOG goes well with my Mezco Green Lantern, or my Injustice Lobo and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's collectors out there who do that with Marvel and stuff, but that's just kind of how I do my DC stuff. So again, mentioning his articulation doesn't necessarily hold up too well. I mean, there's some decent head range on this guy. I'm seeing under this light, the pinks kind of differ, but still fantastic looking figure. Ball jointed shoulders, bicep cut, single jointed elbow because of how beefy he is. Only a, is this even a swivel on the wrist? Yeah, swivel on the wrist. This one's not, there we go. An okay ab crunch. You do get the waist swivel. Legs can go out so far. So I got to be careful because I've broken this leg off before. Not necessarily this one, but it's happened. Single jointed knee, and of course no, oh, there is an ankle pivot. Why don't I remember that? But some forward and back, and the slight ankle pivot. Again, I feel like this figure is all about that shelf presence. He's gonna look badass and intimidating on your shelf. Dude is wild. Man, I would like McFarlane to take a stab at KILOWOG, but the dude just doesn't give a shit about scale, let's be honest. And we may get a beautifully sculpted, beefy looking KILOWOG that's as tall as Batgirl. And that's annoying, and I hope that doesn't happen, but I would still like to see him take a stab at it. Hopefully, even as a Build-A-Figure for his current McFarlane line. So like, as I mentioned, I do get figures here and there for DC to fill in the slots. Now, here's the question. Who is his wave mate? You can see the height difference there. Now, this is someone I really would love Mezco to take a stab at. Speaking of Mezco, if you slept on this figure, I feel so bad for you, but let's get these dudes back here. Green Lantern, looking awesome. So I got this camera obviously adjusted for how large this figure is on the screen. But, you could figure out how big this Green Lantern is. Again, 1/12 scale. And then the most recent Dr. Fate. Again, most of, to me, my primary DC action figures come from Mezco. And I just wish, as great as the DCUC line was, I wasn't too into it. I wish they held up, articulation-wise. I mean, 20 years from now, we may not like the Marvel Legends we have now. I can't imagine we wouldn't, but since a lot of their engineering has come a long way, but you get what I'm saying. So, speaking of McFarlane, here is another McFarlane figure. So, with this KILOWOG, maybe the Mezco stuff comes up too short, and maybe the McFarlane stuff is just right. So because of like how gorgeous this figure is, I think this thing is beautifully sculpted. That head sculpt, the paint, amazing. Even the 7-inch McFarlane figures will scale well. Again, I would like to see McFarlane take a stab at KILOWOG. However, if he doesn't, I got this figure, and I wouldn't mind seeing a Hal Jordan done by McFarlane as well. Moving on, another figure I mentioned who's kind of like my go-to for this character, would be the Injustice Lobo. Kilowog still has some size on him, but I think they look fantastic next to each other. I have to admit, my knowledge of DC heights and scales isn't as good as Marvel or anything else. But, you know, these look good together. For all I know, Lobo is as tall or taller than Kilowog. I don't know. You let me know in the comments. I feel like I'm all over the place in this video. To be honest, I just get hyped every time I get this figure out. And that Dr. Fate is gorgeous. That green lantern from McFarlane, John Stewart, is amazing. Like, there's some good DC stuff out there. It's just not all on the same line. So, taking a closer look at his head, those red eyes, it's awesome. Again, not too much sculpted detail. It's almost, you know, they sculpted the detail here and stopped knowing that a smooth lantern suit would be over him. And that's okay. You know, the musculature looks good. Beefy ass figure, man. Back muscles. And the rest of the details just pretty much paint. I mean, we don't get sculpted lines here separating the black from green. Same at the boots, same at the gloves. But, you know, the black to green transition there is completely separate, you know, a separate piece. So you can see some dust. He's one of the few figures I keep out. There's very, very few figures I keep out and around just to mess around with. Kilowog is one of them. Zangief from Storm Collectibles is another, just to, you know, just to mention a few. But yeah, that's my Kilowog throwback, look back, whatever you want to call it, Madness throwback. Thank you so much for checking out these videos. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And if you haven't, please like, comment, and subscribe, notification bell, all of that YouTube jargon every single one of us reviewers say. But we do appreciate you. So thank you for looking, and come back soon.